From the Startup Experts community, this is the Becoming Better podcast, and I'm its host, Jesse Fries.
Heather, it's great to sit down. I always love our conversations and really been looking forward to this one for a number of weeks. Would you mind introducing yourself and kind of share with the crew your career journey?
Yeah, so I'm the Chief People Officer at Brex. I've been there for about 2 years at this point. But I found myself in the people space back when I was 16, which I won't drag you through the whole story, but it was one of those moments that really set me up to understand this profession that I love so much. And so have done everything from compensation, recruiting, HR business partner at places like Microsoft or Dropbox through their big boom. And then in the last 5 or 6 years have really fallen in love with the Chief People Officer role at a series of startups like Newfront, Gem, and now Brex.
That's great. And thank you for the quick move through the career. But I have to ask, right? At 16, tell me how you were getting involved in HR at that age.
Yeah, so I was, funny enough, working at a workers' comp insurance company in Michigan, and I was working on claims, which I'm not really sure why they were trusting a 16-year-old with the claims in the claims department. But anyway,
I don't know. It makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. I've seen a lot of these.
Approve. But they came up to me one day and they said, "Hey, do you want to work in personnel?" And I was like, I have no idea what personnel is, but yes. And so that first job, I was doing a lot of recruiting coordinating and HR coordinating, and again, had really no idea what I was walking into, but ended up working at that particular spot for most of high school at that point, and some summers in college, and really just sort of the launch pad for me in terms of thinking about my own career in the people space or personnel at the time.
I didn't know that. That's a good story. Yeah. Would you mind sharing with us, perhaps one thing personally that you do that other individuals might not know about you?
Yeah. So, we have not been able to give up our Detroit Lions season tickets. We are based in San Francisco. So I remember telling my husband, I'm like, we live in California. We don't live in Michigan anymore. But we fly back for about 3 to 4 games every season. And we are diehard Lions fans, which is very hard, especially given how they used to be growing up. 0-16 seasons were a real thing. And so just super fun to be able to do that. So we're actually flying out this weekend for a game, which I'm really looking forward to.
That's fun. And is there a crew of people that you hang out when you arrive?
Yeah, so my cousin and her husband, we actually have our season tickets with them. And then my husband and I both went to college in Michigan. So we've got lots of family and friends that end up coming in. So it's always a very jam-packed 48 hours of fun, for sure.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, that sounds incredible. Good tradition.
Yes.
You continue doing that.
Hopefully this is our year.
Okay.
I really hope, Jesse. We gotta have my 91-year-old grandma's like, I only probably have 1 year left. They've got to win the Super Bowl this year. So I'm doing it for her.
Make sure you tell the team that. I'm not sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, the reason we're sitting down, and I'm really excited that we are, was because you were selected earlier in the year to be one of our 25 leaders to follow in 2025. So we're doing these short form Becoming Better podcasts simply to get to know the individuals that were chosen. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor for sure.
Wanted to know, in particular, is there one thing that you have learned recently that has made you, a better employee, but also just a better human?
Yeah, I think for me, it's almost like a reminder of this, which, especially in this work, it feels like there is going to be a laundry list of things that are always coming at you. And again, this might seem overly simplified, but I'm feeling this today, which is just slow down. I think when you love this work as much as myself or others in this profession do, and the responsibility is so vast in terms of thinking about entire employee bases and making sure that the business is moving in a really thoughtful direction, I just drown myself in that at times. And so, anything from sort of over traveling to almost kind of getting lost in the noise because I've just allowed so much to kind of hit my plate without real prioritization. And so again, I wouldn't say, oh gosh, I learned that yesterday, but I feel like there are these different pivotal points throughout the different CPO jobs in particular that I've had where I've had to do kind of a massive reset. So I'm really looking forward, especially to the holidays, and taking another look at where am I going to be spending my time next year? How do I want to be more thoughtful at work, but also at home? And just making sure that while balance is not really a reality in this role in many ways, that I'm being thoughtful about where my energy is going and how it's being re-energized or depleted, and how I have a little bit more blend on that over time.
Yeah, no, that's certainly wise, and it's certainly something I've reflected on recently. Cognitive overload is a thing that I deal with consistently, and I'm just taking on too much. I have very much of an addictive personality to take on and not say no, and so that's something I've been personally working with. So I can relate to taking the next 2 months to really reflect on where you should be spending your time more effectively, personally and professionally, in 2026.
That's right. The Lions will still hit the list, though.
Okay, fair enough. Hopefully February will be at the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So, you kind of alluded to this, and AI is, a really popular topic, and that is accelerating everything. But, is there, and this could be your answer, but is there a new initiative or problem that you're looking to solve, or something that you're following that you're really excited about?
Yeah, so we just launched our new employee value proposition, which is be the founder of your career. And the long and the short of it is, over the last year, we discovered that we were launching 4 times more founders and future leaders out of Brex than any company of our size and stage. And so when we started seeing that data, we said, okay, it's one thing to build programs about how do we get people to stay and, think about only growing their careers within Brex. And we've really just pivoted on that, which is, how do we prepare you for that bigger thing that you are going to launch out of Brex to do? So it's been a bit of a controversial statement, which I think is sort of needed. But to us, we want to generate more of those founders and future leaders. And so this year, we established that program and a lot of the marketing that's gone on for it. If anyone wants to check it out, it's quitterswelcome.com. But then now next year, really thinking about how we're programmatizing those experiences for folks so that not only are they getting the right experiences at Brex, but then we're really setting them up with the right investors, founders, our alumni community in terms of thinking about their own growth outside of Brex. So yes, AI is important. Yes, thinking about operating cash flow positive is important, all of those things. But to me, that initiative in thinking about our talent brand and continuing to build on that enables all of those other things to happen. And so it's been some of the most creative work I've been able to work on over the last 5 years. And I'm just really excited about what we'll be able to do in the next year with that data too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And let's go follow-up question. What is the business incentive to encourage arguably some of your best employees to leave the organization?
Yeah, so there's a few things for us. I'll start with the business, especially from a founder angle, or even a head up, people that are going to heads up roles outside of Brex. Those folks become customers for us. Hopefully, hopefully we've done a good enough job, right? That we're their credit card of choice, we're their banking partner of choice, we're their T&E platform of choice. And so for us, that's sort of at the business level, that's where that flywheel really starts moving. And then for us, we want, there's a lot of AI native companies that are coming up, and we are really honest with ourselves, which is we can't compete specifically on cash and equity all the time with all of these AI native companies that are just exploding in growth. So how are we thoughtful about what type of talent brand we're going to have to be able to bring in folks that will really accelerate Brex, but being mindful that they will launch? So for us, we've had a number of folks that had dropped out of college, or maybe they started a company and decided that it wasn't for them. And our pitch to them is come to Brex for a couple of years and use all of that talent and skill. And for us, obviously, having that sort of AI native talent in the building is incredibly important to us right now as we continue to build our more agentic features within Brex. And then being thoughtful and then bringing us along the way in terms of that launch. So I think there's like a talent brand and how we get more AI native talent. within the company. And then, of course, from the business perspective, that sort of flywheel, what's very unique to our business in terms of the customers that we have and the stage of customers that some of them are at.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I mean, as a former talent leader, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of, creating a place for a period of time in somebody's career and then growing them and leaving. And then, we always think here at Sequoia about lifelong customers. And so having somebody that is, spent a couple of years with Brex, but, might run, 4 or 5 companies over a course of a 25-year career, becoming lifelong Brex customers. So that's
exactly
great
spot on
business strategy.
Yeah, spot on.
We learn so much from our mistakes, and certainly, I've had my fair share. And I love to ask questions around hindsight moments because I think they're really telling, and we often learn more from our failures than we do our successes. So just want to ask you, Heather, is there a particular lesson that you've learned through a failure or mistake that you're willing to share with us?
Yeah. This one always is very present. And I would say a lot of the people leaders that I talk to, this is a story that I am always open to sharing, but was challenging in that moment. When I took my first chief people officer role, there's a bit of you don't know what you don't know in many ways of what you're walking into. But really what the learning for me was I chose a company, which is great. CEO and I are still very good friends, but it was not the right fit for me culturally. I was somewhat values misaligned at different points. I was making decisions that were not aligned with where the business was going. There wasn't a whole lot of passion in many ways for what the business was doing in terms of my own core, like what brings me joy every day. And that led to about a year and a half or 2 years of just really questioning whether I was even good at this job. Was this the profession I should be in? Should I go back to being an HR business partner at a larger company? And it took a toll on just sort of my, what I'd call professional health. And so to me, the learning there, I mean, there are so many things I learned about that experience and that I'm also very grateful for. But to me, it's also really influenced how I think about my future opportunities in the types of questions that I ask, the way I need to be honest with myself about the type of business that I need to be a part of, the type of values that I'm going to find necessary in a founder and the way that they make decisions. So even things like asking to join an exec team meeting before I sign an offer letter, or, hey, I'm going to have to go to dinner with this founder before I say yes, because I just need to like you as a person. We're going to be spending a lot of time together, and to attend an all hands to really see the dynamic on top of things like pushing more on the founder of, hey, I actually have 20 questions for you at the end of the process of sort of, are we calibrated on the way we think about people, culture, the business in a way that if anyone out there ever wants to talk about that, or if they're struggling with that, I'm always happy to be a sounding board, because I think without that experience, I don't think I would have landed somewhere like a Brex at this point. I think it's just been a series of learnings of what really is true to you and not true to what the market tells you or your network tells you should be doing, and really, really staying true to what you actually need to have value out of the role you're going to.
Yeah, that's an exceptional perspective, and one that I hear mistakes being made, but I also love to hear when leaders are also interviewing the company that they're trying to get a job at. And it is very much a two-way street and a partnership.
100%. And it sometimes doesn't feel like that in the moment, right? Like you really want to present yourself a certain way. But I think particularly in this role, there just can't be fundamental misalignment. So I always tell people, you just got to trust your gut. If your gut is telling you it's not right, it's not right. And there will be another opportunity. And so, to me, again, it wouldn't be in this spot with this level of clarity on what I need without those experiences, but really painful couple of years for me and sort of navigating that journey, and feeling that misalignment sort of throughout those couple of years.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
As we wrap up here, love to ask, do you have any quick advice to share for the Startup Experts community front, is there one thing that is really something you'd like to leave behind?
Yeah, one of our board members, Anu, she said something the other day. We were doing a fireside chat, actually with some of these future founders and leaders. We had a whole little conference for them recently, and she said something that really struck me, which was, in this age of things moving super fast, the key characteristic of great leaders right now is that they are aggressive learners. And so finding ways and not waiting for that permission, reaching out to that member and saying, hey, I'd love to learn about your story a bit more. Or, hey, have you attended this particular meet and greet? Like, is it worth my time? Taking that initiative and thinking about learning in a more aggressive pattern of not waiting for it and actually putting yourself out there. It's key. And if I can add one more, and I think it's tied, which is, networking is everything in this world. I attend the events. I go to the dinners, because to me, it's not only important in terms of just building community, but it also, from, again, back to that aggressive learning perspective of how am I going to be a better leader by learning from others around me as well, which is what is so great about this community in general.
Yeah, no, I love that perspective. I've been giving a lot of thought about that recently, and the world is getting increasingly complex. There's a lot of data out there, and you really do need to find your group, your circle, your community of like-minded people that can help you filter that and really have a more substantive conversation and know that the knowledge is grounded in reality and right on. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Well, thank you again for sitting down. I appreciate you. Congratulations again for being selected. It was not a surprise when the committee came to me and said, hey, I'll put Heather on this list. But still very, very cool to sit down with you. And thank you for your time.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this Becoming Better with Startup Experts discussion. If you're interested in learning more about our community and perhaps joining, please visit www.startupexperts.us.